With us right now is the CEO of TiVo. He's Tom Rogers. Tom, good to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, let's talk about that quarterly profit, because much of it, or almost all of it, was due to that settlement with Dish. I'm just curious, that battle's been going on for years, Tom. Why did it finally get resolved? Why do you think it did?
Well, it got resolved because we got a favorable ruling out of the Court of Appeals in Washington, and this case has been going on, as you say, for a number of years, and we've been winning it at every level for a number of years. And finally, both sides decided that rather than continuing to litigate, we would bring it to an end, and in so doing, we got yielded over $600 million from that case, right up there with the big BlackBerry patent settlement of a number of years ago. And it was one patent, one defendant. We have others that we are looking to enforce our patents against, namely AT&T, Verizon, Microsoft, and so we're moving on to those cases.
How do you think those are going to go? I know you can't give us all the details, but how do you think those might play out?
Well, we have a very strong patent coming out of this Dish litigation that has been battle tested, not only in the courts, but in the patent office, where it had been reviewed many times as to its validity. They fired a number of shots at us. We've gotten many of their actions against us stayed, meaning they are not going forward while our action against them is. And it's moving quite rapidly. Next week we'll be in what's called claim construction, which is the first phase of a patent hearing, patent trial, and so we're looking to aggressively enforce our patent rights.
Without that settlement, though, you would have had a loss. So how do TiVo's sales look? Because TiVo is obviously sort of the Kleenex, Pampers, Coke of DVR boxes, but you say that it does so much more. It's much more than that.
Yeah, that analogy I don't think quite captures it. Not that it isn't used, but very hard for somebody to know a difference between Kleenex and facial tissue. For all intents and purposes, they look the same. If you put a traditional generic DVR up against TiVo, the differences are massive. Not only in terms of how we frame the entirety of the television experience, not just provide a recording device, but you get Netflix, you get Hulu, you get Amazon, you get Blockbuster, you get YouTube, you get Pandora. We are now up to about 7 million pieces of entertainment content that you don't get through your cable or satellite provider.
So in a sense, it's a computer for your television, but how do you capitalize on that? How do you become sort of the Apple of set-top boxes?
Well, we are not only selling our box through Best Buy, through retail, and giving people all the benefits that come from our approach that goes well beyond our recording and DVR capability to this way to get just about anything you want whenever you want it. We think of it more as a dream machine for television as opposed to specifically a DVR. But what we're also doing is selling our approach to cable operators and satellite operators here and around the world so that they have the ability to offer TiVo to their subscribers directly. And what that does is give us a whole different way to broaden our distribution beyond what our traditional retail path has been.
And Tom, that seems like the more attractive way, because I think you guys have the same number of customers as you did back in 2004. So why not just license the technology and license, the technology and give up doing the box side of the business? Why hold on to that?
Well, it's interesting because cable operators, particularly here in the United States, want our box also. One of the reasons the reason they want our box is that the traditional box providers to the cable industry, the Scientific Atlanta, Cisco's, the Motorola's, that has been the reason that the television screen, which is the biggest screen in the house, the most viewed screen in the house, the most expensive screen in the house, looks like it hasn't been updated in 20 years relative to an iPad, relative to a smartphone, where the interfaces and user experiences look like they're made for today. And the reason for that is that the traditional box providers to the industry have not provided innovative software to keep the television screen up to date. So when people in the cable industry now look around and they say, we got to do this and we got to do this fast, they look at having our box and our software together as a quicker path to implementation. And so they like that.
And you have that deal with Comcast now starting the Bay Area and I think 15 other markets. When does it become the whole country?
Well, we are looking at not only have deals with Comcast, but we have deals with a number of other cable operators. We have deal with DirecTV, and we are trying to get ourselves distributed as broadly as possible with not only all operators here in the U.S., but we see an enormous opportunity, hundreds of millions of subscribers around the world, and all of those operators covering those subscribers are going to have to figure out what we call advanced television, which is taking their traditional channels and all this new content coming in from broadband and putting it together. So, you know, we don't look at it just as where's the U.S. We look at what's our global potential and driving toward it.
Hang on, Carol sort of indicating that your customer base hasn't grown, and you have what seems like a potential to have sort of the luxury product here. I mean, the better set-top box. How do you sell that, and when's that going to happen? When do people start getting really excited about having TiVo and tell their neighbors and tell their family, and everyone has to get it?
Well, you got to look at our subscriber base, I think, a little differently than most analysts do. We have the old pure DVR, standard definition, single tuner, old original TiVo DVR subs, and those are clearly churning and falling off. And then we have our new get everything you want out of your television, what we call TiVo Premier, plus our deals with cable operators, and those are all growing. And the churn on those are very, very small. And so it's kind of like looking at a telephone company and saying, well, your landline old telephone customers, they're going away, but your cell phone is growing, and combining those two numbers together and getting a single view. Telephone companies really aren't looked at that way. You got your old legacy base and you got your new base, and our new base is really growing.
Tom, who do you look at as your competition? Some folks used to say Netflix, but you guys are working with Netflix now. So I'm just curious, who is your competition in your view?
We don't look like Netflix as competition at all. We look at every programming source out there as something that we want to deliver to the television set, so you can have one box, one remote, one user experience, one form of search across everything, and we'll let the customer decide what they want to watch and what they don't want to watch. We don't want to stand in the way of that. Every program source is something we want to enable so the customer has the best and broadest source of programming they could have.
Right.
Our competition is other providers of advanced television, and when you look at what cable operators want to do, take their existing television, put it together with broadband content in this one box, one remote experience, there's really only a couple people out there, and we're one of them, that do that. So it's a pretty good field for us. The barriers to entry are pretty big because it's not just about putting the picture on the television screen, it's about the plumbing and architecture of individual cable operators and weaving our software into their legacy equipment. That's really hard stuff. There are very few companies that know how to do it, and so it's the combination of the consumer experience plus that work that really makes this a playing field that only a couple companies are really mixing it up in so far.
Is there a future where I don't have to worry about when How I Met Your Mother is on or when this movie's on HBO? I just can go in my TiVo and pick any show I want whenever I want?
Well, we're pretty much there. When you look at what Amazon has, what Netflix has, what Hulu has, what YouTube has, you put all that together, you can pretty much get any entertainment content when you want it. Now, it's not necessarily the cheapest way to get it, which is why people still want a recording device, because if you know when something's going to be on and you record it, that can still be the cheapest way and the best way to get the most money out of your cable or satellite subscription package. But our view is give people an on-demand experience. Sometimes they'll record, sometimes they'll take it the way you're describing, but in any case, for the most part, it's a get anything you want whenever you want it world.
Tom, we got to run, but thank you so much.
Thanks
Tom
for
Rogers,
having me. Enjoyed
CEO
it.
of TiVo.
Thank you very much.